Hello everybody, welcome. Today we are going to take a look at 10 outstanding games from 2021 that you might have missed. It was a good year for us gamers, but there are a lot of games that don't get any media coverage and some that just get lost despite how great they were. We will pick out some from strategy to tactics, simulation, building and management. I hope this helps you find some hidden gems. If I missed some great games, let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you like my content and want more. Let's get started. Timberborn, released September 15, 2021. You are tasked with expanding your adorable little beaver settlement. The game settles into a steady rhythm of unlocking new technologies while trying to survive environmental changes such as droughts. Timberborn, like most management games, is all about a good juggling act. You must ensure a steady supply of wood while also providing adequate housing and storage and making progress toward more useful structures. Choosing the right time to invest in flower production or reforestation might be critical to your beaver's survival. However, Timberborn is gentler and kinder than most of its contemporaries, with circumstances rarely deteriorating faster than you can correct a mistake. There are more challenging difficulties for those who prefer this game to be about survival rather than prosperity, but that seems a poor match for the tone. The main attraction is the look and feel of it. It's simple and inoffensive, with few hints of a history to its world in which beavers have inherited the earth. Simply put, it's a pleasant place to be. And for those who simply want a settlement management game with cute beavers, Timberborn will do nicely. Star Dynasties, released in September 1, 2021. Star Dynasties mechanics will be familiar to Crusader Kings 3 players. Take on the role of the head of a household, in this case a dukedom, and rule over their family, a planet, and vassals while occasionally serving under an empire controlling archon. The game is turn-based and revolves around taking actions with the player's main character and their council of advisors. While they educate their young child and future heir, a player's sister, who has been appointed admiral, may be planning sector-wide defenses, while their mother, a skilled diplomat, opens channels with the nearby duchess, who has been wronged by a fine imposed by their mutual archon. One of the main draws of Star Dynasties and similar games is the web of intrigue. The ability of a game to make players lose themselves in their family's struggles, triumphs, and failures is rare, but Star Dynasties does it excellently and consistently. Players will have stories to tell, just like in Crusader Kings, involving the expected political and personal messes that have popularized this storytelling medium in the genre. Wartales, released in December 1, 2021. Wartales is an open-world RPG in which you lead a band of mercenaries on a quest for riches across a vast medieval universe. Explore the world, find companions, collect bounties, and discover the secrets of the ancient tombs. It's a grim low-fantasy mercenary sim that takes pride in its toughness. It's also obstinately opaque because of this, but also because it's in early access. The lack of explanations, muted colors, sad people, and grueling fights make earning a living in this depressing world an unpleasant experience. Happiness, however, can be found in the most unexpected places. Regardless of the difficulty level, the majority of the disasters that have befallen my squad of unlucky mercs have been due to Wartales' inability to even break down the basics. However, I'll admit that it has also been the source of some fun surprises. For example, when I discovered I could recruit animals. My squad began as a group of boring human pals embarking on their first adventure. They are mostly bad at everything, but with each turn-based battle won and new item created, they improve slightly. In addition to fighting classes, they can learn professions such as fishing and smithing, which they can use to make food, gear, and gold by interacting with merchants. Honey, I Joined a Cult, released in September 14, 2021. I'm pretty sure each of us has played a video game that completely captivated us. Not necessarily because it has an engaging storyline or enjoyable gameplay, but because the combination of repetitive tasks and non-stop rewards wins us over in unexpected ways. This phenomenon can feel almost cult-like, which is entirely appropriate for the title Honey, I Joined a Cult. Despite the title, it's more about starting your own cult than joining one. The delightful opening cutscene depicts an already established cult under attack by authorities and protesters ready to bring you down. Fortunately, you can escape through a legal loophole, but you now have to start from scratch by creating a whole new cult to take people's hard-earned money and turn it into yours. The cult customization is immediately appealing. You create your leader, the uniforms your cultists will wear, the name of the cult, the deity they worship, the followers' names, religious symbols, and everything else. If all of this sounds a little too complicated, you can always use one of the title's pre-made cults. Honey, I Joined a Cult has a constant numbers game, which I think is perfect for this type of title. Almost every improvement you make will help you improve multiple things, and it all blends together in this hypnotic, almost trance-like gameplay loop that will keep you going. This is a must-play game if you like simulation games and haven't played it yet. HighFleet, released in July 27, 2021. In this unique action strategy game combining arcade combat, exploration, management, and diplomacy, battle for survival in the skies of a mysterious future Earth. As massive flying ships engage in spectacular aerial combat, a prophecy speaks of a person who will save the world. Who could that be? On most days, if you ask me what my favorite game of all time is, I'll say Sid Meier's Pirates, a genre hybrid and rollicking adventure published by Microprose in 1987. Microprose was a software company known for simulations, strategy, wargames, and the odd genre-bending experiment. While the majority of the announced games are traditional wargames, they're also releasing the hybrid HighFleet, described as a far-future action strategy game involving airships fighting a civil war during the death of an empire. The narrative of what you do in HighFleet sounds mesmerizing. You negotiate with local warlords for alliances, crack codes, design new ships, fly them around in intense combat, dodging bullets and launching missiles. HighFleet is also cleverly put together, with a diegetic interface that has you accessing the different parts of the game experience through the window of your flagship. Want to intercept a message? Click the phone receiver at the top of the screen to get into the radio interface, then use your mouse wheel to turn the dials and find the signals. In other words, HighFleet feels like it's the product of a singular vision, consistently styled and with systems that all seem to fit together and channel players into its mindset. Under most circumstances, this is something I'd happily recommend as unique and exciting. Gamedec, released in September 16, 2021. Gamedec is a single-player cyberpunk isometric RPG, You are a game detective who solves crimes inside virtual worlds. Use your wits to gather info from your witnesses and suspects, getting to the bottom of deceptive schemes. The game continually adapts to your decisions and never judges. Following in the footsteps of text-based dystopian role-playing heavyweights such as Fallout, Shadowrun, and the much more recent Disco Elysium, Anchar Studios' cyberpunk-flavored investigation RPG Gamedec faces some high expectations. With the unusual twist of players taking on the role of a cyberspace investigator and solving crimes committed in virtual space. You can learn Apex Legends hacks that can be used to make the game even more interesting. However, the game's open-ended, adaptive approach that allows for bountiful player choice also somewhat undermines the narrative's cohesion, particularly in the game's early stages, making maintaining immersion tougher than it should be. The game, or at least the parts of it occurring in reality, takes place in Warsaw City, a megalopolis reaching into the sky and built upon the crumbling ruins of old Warsaw. The protagonist makes a living as a Gamedec, a private investigator specializing in tracking down people and uncovering misdeeds in virtual space. The game uses codex entries discovered over the course of its 15-hour runtime to do much of its considerable world building. There is a wealth of information waiting to be uncovered for those who are willing to read it all, sometimes taking the unusual form of television or radio broadcast transcripts. This establishes a world in which the fantastical has become mundane, beginning with the aforementioned choice to spend one's existence in Virtualium, and continuing on to self-aware AI and the practice of transplanting one's brain into an artificial host when the physical body dies. It's a cold and sobering depiction of the future, and it can be quite captivating to read about. Individual codex entries are well written, though the deluge of information available at the outset can be a bit overwhelming. Before We Leave, released in May 13, 2021. Before We Leave is a non-violent city-building/4X game that proudly displays its hexes, a tiny bucolic sphere of them hanging in the void, the inhabitants of which initially only know how to grow potatoes. The citizens of your new civilization emerge from the ashes of an old one, specifically, from a vertical access nuclear bunker that looks rather like a repurposed missile silo. This not being Fallout, your priority is housing rather than slaughtering the local wildlife for trade goods, and it's a rather wonderful world to emerge into, all fertile plains and rocky highlands. Humanity has been underground long enough for the Earth to regenerate, but not long enough to evolve into Morlocks. It's a perfect balance. Despite the occasional bit of wreckage from the prior owners of the continent before they nuked themselves into wisps of plasma, the land is lush and forested. Deserts, rocks, ice and the like are introduced later, but everything is covered in a splendid layer of hex clouds that retreat and reshape as you spin the globe around. Only the parts of the world you've explored are visible, meaning that for much of the time you're looking at an arc in space. Zoom out far enough and you can see the local star too, it's light washing over everything. This means there's a day-night cycle, which leads to changes in population behavior, and makes it slightly harder to see what you're doing at night. The citizens are, it has to be said, extremely cute. Like wooden toys, they trundle around at quite a speed, even with the game running at 1x speed, up to 4x is possible, to pass the time while researching and producing the things necessary for progress. They are, however, known as peeps, a twee touch that borders on the unforgivable. Look past this, though, and you find they are all individually named, are blessed with their own personality quirks, and have happiness levels that can be raised by cleaning up pollution, improving their diet, building fountains or providing suitable clothing for the conditions they live in. City of Gangsters, released in August 9, 2021. In this new management tycoon game, you'll start a criminal operation from nothing, and grow it into a well-oiled money machine. Build speakeasies and illegal distilleries. Manage production chains and resource distribution. Set up illicit gambling dens and squeeze your debtors dry. Smuggle goods from out of town and bribe the police to look the other way. Grow a powerful crew and keep your rivals under your thumb. Eliminate competition and rule the city. But most importantly, keep the money flowing. It's not enough to just turn on the tap to some illicit liquor, you have to find people willing to buy it from you, and not everyone is upfront about it. You have to do favors for people to get favors in return. These can allow you to expand your connections and ask more uncomfortable questions like, where can I buy a Tommy gun? Along the way, you can pressure businesses into becoming fronts and expand your territory. You also get backrooms of legitimate businesses that you can turn into stills, speakeasies, and other various illegal industries. The point is to become a self-sustaining business. You need ingredients to make booze. Then you have to have the setup to create the booze. Finally, you need the connections to sell all the liquor you're soon to find yourself drowning in. It's a careful balance of social schmoozing and industrialization. Want to learn to make proper gin? Start with bathtub gin and someone will teach you to make the good stuff. But hold up, you still need to find buyers for your wonderful new beverage, and not everyone who wanted your bathtub gin wants the real stuff. Favors are everything, and you need to earn them from people by doing missions. Some of these missions have specific triggers, and one of the triggers is to have someone delivering a type of booze. Of course, the game doesn't tell you this, so this is your warning. Use the delivery system. Dyson Sphere Program, released in January 21, 2021. Created by Chinese developer Youthcat Studio, DSP is a factory management sim that owes more than a little credit to the sublime Factorio. Playing as what resembles a lost transformer, you mine resources, build assembly lines, and establish production chains in a gloriously compelling feedback loop of creative puzzle solving. Aside from being 3D, what separates DSP from Factorio is the scale at which it plays. Whereas the main goal of Factorio is to build a rocket to escape the alien planet you're trapped on, DSP's primary object is to build, yep, you guessed it, a Dyson sphere. For those unfamiliar with the concept, a Dyson sphere is a theoretical megastructure that would, if it was possible to build, harvest the entire energy output of a star. It'll be a while before you commence construction of DSP's titular project, however. Prior to that, there are 100 smaller projects that need attention. Starting off on a single planet, your initial goal is to get your factory up and running. You need to mine starting resources like iron and copper and smelt them into usable plate, establish power generation and energy networks, and construct assembly lines for basic components, transport belts, assemblers, storage boxes, and so on. Indeed, the first 10 or so hours of Dyson Sphere Program play almost identically to Factorio. This is by no means a bad thing, and in its mimicry of Uppbeat Software's management masterpiece, Dyson Sphere Program is equally enjoyable. DSP also tweaks the Factorio formula in a couple of ways I like. For example, sorters, which move resources to and from belts and machines, are extendable, making it much easier to arrange assembly lines. They also have filters built in and can be upgraded to stack resources, meaning you don't have to build a half dozen different types of sorter, as you do with Factorio's inserters. Also, since the game is 3D, transport belts can be built at multiple levels of elevation, much like one of Planet Coaster's roller coasters. You need to venture beyond your starting planet to continue your construction. Unlike Factorio, which limits itself to a single world, DSP takes place across an entire star cluster. Building your Dyson sphere requires you to travel to multiple systems, building interstellar logistics systems and harvesting resources from them all. Mini Motorways, released in July 20, 2021. With its gentle ambient sounds and pastel color palette, Mini Motorways presents an enjoyable and addictive city management challenge. It's a particularly immersive treat when played in handheld mode, featuring a steady difficulty curve that lures you back for more. Are you interested in designing a city without the burden of applying for planning permission? Mini Motorways is a resource management puzzler that begins with a solitary house and destination, then becomes increasingly complex. Your first task is to lay down a road to link the house to the larger building, upon which, from your bird's eye view, you'll see a car head towards its destination. Moments later, another house and destination will appear. The buildings come in a variety of colors and must be color matched to ensure that structures of the same color are linked by road. A steadily increasing number of pins on each destination indicate how many people need to reach it, and if supply can't meet demand, it's game over. The most drastic change to your landscape is the construction of a motorway, allowing you to quickly connect two distant locations. Aesthetically, the motorways create quite an ugly change to your carefully mapped network, like spaghetti straddling your existing roads and buildings. In a brilliant piece of game design, there's an almost imperceptible gradual zoom out as your map grows and your city becomes more complex in design, with another nice touch being the steady increase of frustrated car horns. The game includes various accessibility options, including a color-blind mode for players that have trouble differentiating colors. Night mode meanwhile darkens the palette, resulting in each car switching on its headlights. In short, it's a wonderful game. That was my top 10 games from 2021. I hope I helped you find at least one game you missed from last year. If I missed something that you really think should have been in this video, and if you have suggestions on what I should cover in the next video, leave it in the comments below, and I will try to get it in the next one. And please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. And if you want to know when I release more content, please consider subscribing. Until next time, bye. Hey, take a look at my last video, or look at a random channel suggested video.